Hi everyone, it's Jem here. Welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. We're going to carry on with our colour along in Kerby Rosanes Animorphia today, and we are back to our fish. So the plan today is we're going to chip away a little bit more at these scales and we're going to tackle the tail of this lovely fish. Now the thing I'm most excited about doing the tail is getting to do all these little cool guys and funny things that are going on down in this corner. So that is the plan. So we shall get cracking. Just a quick reminder before we start of the pencils we are using. We are all in Prismacolor and we have the following pencils. Lilac, which is PC 956. We have Parma Violet, which is PC 1008. And we also have Dioxazine Purple Hue, PC 132. For our orangey colours, if you recall, we have PC 140, which is Eggshell. Our little yellowed orange, my poor little yellowed orange, PC 1002. And we have Mineral Orange, which is PC 1033. Now the last time we were in this book, we coloured in these sort of underwater sea foamy bits. And that was a very scientific description, wasn't it? And the colours that we used for those were the Sky Blue Light, which is PC 1086, and also the Muted Turquoise, which is PC 1088. So I will be adding some colours as we go along, as I mentioned, when we get into these sort of little itty bitty bits down here. But we'll tackle them as we go along because I haven't quite decided what colours we're going to use for that. So let's get cracking with a few more of these scales and see what we can do. And because we've started to work over in this direction, I just want to get this top bit sort of caught up, if you like. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm taking the lilac and using the side of my pencil, which is quite sharp, I am just going to work along this top edge very lightly and start to lay down that colour along there. Got to bear in mind as well, we do have our highlight here, but all we're doing is we're following on from the guideline that we set ourselves up back here. So basically all we're doing is making this part match up with this sort of gradient here. Now I'm going to take my darkest pencil, not the mid-tone pencil, and I'm just going to slightly overlap from where we were before and make the thinnest of lines using this darkest purple, just down to where I've taken that lilac that we've just put down. There we go. Now I did have a nice sharp pencil for that. That was quite important when you're wanting a thin line like that. So now I'm taking the Parma Violet, which is the mid-tone, and I'm just going to start blending that darker colour into the lilac. Now this is a section where as you go through and do your scales, you can go back to that and just sort of blend it in a bit more if it doesn't look quite right. So don't panic if it is not absolutely identical to the part that you've already done. I did say way back at the beginning as well, if you're more comfortable, you could actually do the whole section. So if you're at this stage and you're not feeling particularly comfortable, feel free to go all the way down right now. That is not a problem. I like to try and keep everything uniform as I go along in relation to the scales rather than the top, but that is just my personal preference. Okay, so now that we've extended this line slightly now, we can get to work on some of our scales. So back to the lightest pencil, which again is the lilac. I am just going to sort of join all these up very lightly because this is the area where we're joining onto our highlight, so we need to go steady here. So again, that's just really going over the lilac that we put down initially and joining that up to the highlighted area. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to try and define this highlighted line a little bit more. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some darker colour just along this section here so that we start to get that stripe effect down the side of the fish. So in order to do that, because we've already got our lilac down, I'm going to take the Parma Violet, which is the middle purple, if you remember. Now what we have to try and do here is balance out this highlighted area with the gradient down to the darkest point, but we want to bear in mind the highlights that we have on each of our scales as well, so that there is no right or wrong way to do this, technically speaking. I just find it easier to take the slightly easier route, and maybe I'm not supposed to say things like that because I'm supposed to be a consummate professional. But really all I'm going to do is I am going to bring this mid-tone down to the highlighted area and just gradually work it in. So there we go, I've kind of met with it now. Now all I'm going to do is, following the line of where my original highlight was, I'm going to press a little bit harder with that mid-tone colour, just in at the corner of these scales, just to give a really sort of tiny, tiny little shadow just in there. That is all that I want to do. And this is more to give the impression of, again, of them being sort of tucked in behind. But because we've hit the highlighted area, I don't want it to take over the highlight. We need to try and preserve the highlight. That is quite important at this stage. So there we go. I am quite happy to leave that as it is. Now it does look quite bitty at this moment in time, but don't panic. When you pull out and see the bigger picture, you will be able to see the general impact. So I'm back with the lilac now, and I'm just going to blend in over the top. And this, by doing this and just making this top section a bit darker, it's helping to make the highlight stand out and pop out, but it's also giving that curvature of the fish, you know, so it's going up and round. Now it's a difficult thing to balance just because of the scales and everything, but you've got to remember as well, you're going for a sort of general idea, as it were. You know, it doesn't have to be scientifically correct. So that's looking pretty good there. Now I'm just going to take the mid-tone again, the Parma Violet, and I'm just going to start filling in these little sections underneath. And again, this is to build up the highlight stripe in the middle, because I want that stripe to be reasonably uniform. So in order to do that, I need to make sure that I have brought the rest of the colour up to that stripe to give it that defined line. So that was just the mid-tone purple that I've put down there, and I'm here with the lilac now, and I'm just bringing that up to where my guideline is, which is just here. I think you guys can see that on the camera. Now with these sections where I've put the mid-tone down using the lilac, I'm just going to blend them out a little bit just to make it a wee bit smoother. There we go. And then I'm going to go back over. Again, just using a light hand, nothing drastic here. Build that colour up a little bit. And I think I'm just going to take the darkest purple and just darken down the line along the edge of the fish. Just very lightly, wee brushy stroke. Just like that. There we go. Okay, so let's move on to some of these ones down here now. So back into the darker section. These scales here, this one, and this one next to it, is in that transition period where we used the two darkest colours and we were starting to add the highlight in and use the lightest colour as well. So what we're going to do with this one is we are going to put a layer of the lilac down very lightly on this one and this one, leaving a highlighted area just at the top here. And the one underneath it, I'm putting a coat of the lilac all the way over. And then I'm going to take the mid-tone, start to darken down that area, making sure that I try and preserve that highlight. And with this one, I'm going to do the same thing and pretend that I have a highlighted area. So although that's the lilac that's shown through, it is the lighter colour. but it still gives the illusion of a highlight. It's just slightly darker than the stark white. And then my dioxazine purple, I'm just going to pop a wee bit down in the bottom there. And then back to the lilac to bring this all together. There we go. And the same with the one above. Just a tiny smidge down the bottom here of the darkest colour, and then back to the Parma Violet to blend this out. Now I think I'm just going to add in a wee spot of lilac. And there's no particular formula to doing this. You have to do it by eye and look at the scales that you've already done to see how everything's going to fit in. And if it looks a little bit out of place, then use your colours to alter it. So because we're heading up to the highlight now, I am not going to use the dioxazine purple in this one. So this is just my lightest one. And again, I'm leaving that top section because we're right next to our highlight stripe, if you like, and then using the Parma Violet, that's what I'm going to use to add in a little bit just around the edge there. I'll just blend that out a wee bit now. Good. Now this scale here is actually, it's encroaching on the highlight, so using this palest colour, I'm just going to tuck a little bit in the corner there and blend it up towards the highlight, and then using the Parma Violet again, I'm just going to pop a tiny wee bit in the corner there. And so on and so forth we go. So that's the lilac. And the same again. I'm heading back into dioxazine territory in this little one here. So I'm not going to give this one a highlight because it seems to be tucked in underneath the one above, if that makes sense. Still going to use my lilac though. And I'm going to bring the Parma Violet all the way around there. And then just the dioxazine down at this bottom corner. There we go, that's looking pretty good. So you can see now, if you look at this first part of the fish, it is starting to look a little bit more put together. It still makes me think of grapes, right enough, but it's coming together and that highlight is starting to take shape as well. Now what I'm noticing here is that this part looks really pale. So I'm going to take my lightest pencil and I'm just going to go over the top of that just to kind of even things up. Now it's really important that you do that periodically when you're working on something like this where you're working tiny sections at a time. Make sure that you take a step back and look at the overall picture and just see if there's anything that needs tweaked or added to or maybe blended a little bit more. And that's just going to help pull the picture together when you stand back with the finished piece. Okay, let's do these two in here. So there is my lilac. And then with the mid-tone. I'm making this one a little bit darker because it is quite near the bottom. And then that wee bit of dioxazine just down there. Now this one could go either way. I think I'm going to use the kind of the darkest colours rather than putting a highlight on it. Because it's curving round, you've got to make a decision as to where your highlighted scales are going to stop. So again, I'll use the lilac there, but not leave a highlighted area. And then get in there with that dioxazine. Really darken that bottom part down. And then just blend it out with the lilac into the rest. Good stuff. You can see because the fish is curving in this direction now, these darker scales are getting closer and closer to where our highlighted area is. So we need to make sure the scales that we're highlighting come all the way down and round. When we get down to this bottom corner, it's going to get a bit fiddly, I'm not going to lie to you. So we'll just take that as it comes. Don't be scared of stuff like this. It's absolutely fine. Just take it a little section at a time. Okay, so using the two lighter pencils now. Just make sure we're using quite a heavy hand when we do use the Parma Violet. There we go. Just blend that in a wee bit more there. Wrong pencil. Oh dear. So there we go. That's the first mistake of the day. I'll use that Parma Violet again. So I think what we'll do is we will work on these dark ones. So that's the two darker colours. That's the Dioxazine and the Parma Violet. And we'll get this bottom part finished just in a line along here, because that will help to give us a guideline of where to bring the highlighted scales down to if we've got this bottom row of the darkest ones done. Anything you can use as a reference to help yourself as you go along is always going to be a good thing. So try and give yourself, if you can look at the picture and gauge where roughly you want things to be, any sort of guidelines like this that can help you judge a distance when you're doing things like highlights is really, really helpful. And it's something that I do quite a lot, and I do it when I'm drawing as well. And it's just to make things a bit easier when I'm gauging proportions or distances. It just makes life a whole lot easier. And quite frankly, that sounds good to me. Now I'm not doing anything different here. This is exactly the way we've been doing the darker scales before. So putting that mid-tone down and then going in with a heavier hand with the Dioxazine purple just to really deepen the overlap areas, and then going back and blending it out. That is all that I'm doing. I'm becoming a bigger and bigger fan of this Dioxazine purple. I think it's quite a versatile pencil because number one, it is a lovely deep rich colour, but you can also get it to go quite dark, you know, if you put enough layers down. And I think it'd be quite useful for shadowing in other colours as well, not just for, you know, when you're wanting a shadow on your purpley bits. It's not a pencil I've used, you can tell it's not, just by the length of it. It is, you know, it's not seen much action. But we're changing that now. Someone asked me about keeping all the colour combinations that I've used for all the colouring pages that I have done, and it is something that I don't do. And there is a reason for it. And it is because if I write colour combinations down, what I tend to find myself doing is, rather than looking at a picture and deciding what sort of tone I want to set with the picture, I find myself getting lazy and I just look up the colour combinations and go, oh well, that's a purple one that I like, I'll just use that one. And it's not teaching me to pick out colours as I go along, and what I find is that I end up using the same combinations all the time. So if you look through my pictures, you end up seeing the same sets of colours all the time, and that's something that I'm not particularly happy about. If there's an absolutely outstanding set of you know, colours that go together, I will take a note of them, but they're so few and far between. And see, I do it deliberately, and it's so I don't get lazy when it comes to colour mixing and picking colours out. It's just something, I've got a bit of a thing about it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If you're comfortable doing that and you're happy, then that's great, but it's just something that's not for me. I very rarely keep the colour combinations of each picture I've coloured in, see, unless I really, really, really like the way that the combination works together. Right, okay, so just to do this bottom edge now, I'm going to stop the purple here, right here, and that's so that I can keep the tail colours the same. But what I want to do is I want to blend them in together. So what I'm doing here with the lilac pencil is what we did in the body of the fish, and just a really light tickle. I mean, you can hardly see it. It's almost not there. And then I'm just going to bring that up, and I'm going to bring it right along the bottom of our fishy friend here to join up with what we had before. I'll just go back over and give a second layer to the main part of the fish, and then we can start working on this gradient again from there down. So in the darkest parts, again, Kerby has already shown us. He's such a nice man. Little circly motions, because that gives us that nice feathered edge to help transition into the mid-tone colour. But nice and heavy round the bottom part of your scales. In those little hatched areas where, you know, where the little lines are, we want that nice and dark. Again, we can go back over it. It's not, I think that's like half a scale. I don't really know what to do with that. I think I'll just put the purple up there. Make it up as I go along. Okay, so then I'm taking the Parma Violet, and I'm just going to start to blend that a little bit. Now I'm taking care to leave the paler colour. I remember before I talked briefly about bounce light. I think I actually talked about it twice. So I don't want to go too far over with the mid-tone. It's looking okay. And then take the lilac and bring this across as well. Here we go, and we can start to blend all that in together now. Alright, so the bottom of our fish is looking okay. Now what I want to do is, I just want to put in my next guideline, so to speak. So I have my highlighted guideline and I have my dark scales at the bottom. So what's happened here is this has closed the distance quite considerably because the fish tapers down. So I'm actually going to start from here now with the next set of scales and try and join this up so that it makes sense. And I'll show you what I mean right now. So again, I'm going to take the lilac because I'm going to be up here at the highlighted area. And this, I was going to say fin there, this scale is closest to the highlight. So I'm taking the lilac and I'm just blending that out towards the highlighted area. I don't need to put a highlight on that specific scale because part of the scale is in the highlight. So in between this darkest one and this lighter one, I only really have 3 scales realistically. So what I want to do now is decide which ones I'm going to give a highlight to and which ones I'm not. Now he's kind of joined them together. Look, that's sloppy workmanship. Let's see what I've got here. Stuff like this bugs me. So I am taking my fine liner and I'm just going to join that up. That's best. That, see, I instantly feel better about that. That makes everything okay. Oh dear, there's another one there. Okay. So with my lilac, I am going to bring this round and leave a wee bit of a highlight, and then I am going to take the Parma Violet and just run it down that bottom edge and into this corner. And then with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Parma Violet as the main colour, leave a little highlight, and use the dioxazine sparingly round this edge, and I'll blend it back out with the Parma Violet. And just leave a very small highlight. And then this one down in here, Parma Violet, it's such a small space, I wouldn't even be overly concerned about that, and a bit of dioxazine in there. And that's absolutely fine. So now I can work from both sides in terms of the highlighted scales and just get them to meet in the middle, which is absolutely ideal. I find this quite a comfortable way of working, and it seems to help me make things nice and even. So hopefully that'll work for some of you as well. Okay guys, so all I did there was that my camera cut out. That's the second time it's happened. All I did there was join up this section and add a very, very light layer of the lilac down this tail fin and joined it up here. So now what we want to do is we want to join up our highlighted scales almost like a dot to dot in a line across here. And what that does is that lets us know that anything on that side of the line needs to have a highlight and anything on this side of the line doesn't. So just starting here, I'm going to do one on this side, and then I'm going to go over here, and eventually they'll meet in the middle. And I'm going to make this one very similar to this one. So I'm not going to leave a bare highlight, but I am going to leave a pale layer of lilac. And then using the Parma Violet, I'm just going to pop that in for the shadow. Now the next one along is here, and it's slightly higher up. So I'm going to leave a highlight on that one. So I'm going to take my lilac, leave that highlighted area, bring the lilac all the way down, and then go in with the Parma Violet. Nice and dark in that corner. Bring this up round a little bit as well. And then just with my Parma Violet, just blend that back in. Now some of these are a little bit uneven, but that's okay. So the likes of this one, again, because it's quite small and it's tucked in, it's kind of fiddly. So we're just going to go all the way over that with the lilac, I think. And then pop in the Parma Violet. Lilac here, blend it in with the Parma Violet. Now this one again's tucked, it looks quite tucked in, so I'm going to take the dioxazine and pop that in there as well. Good stuff. Now you can see I'm starting to sort of meander my way across here. It's all good. So I'm going to come to this side now, and it's just so that I don't lose sight of that line too much. And do a couple from this side, and as I say, they'll join up in the middle eventually. So this one is quite close to the highlight, so I'm using the lilac and the Parma Violet again. If you don't have the patience to do this, it's totally okay. If you want to skip ahead in the video and just colour all these in, it is absolutely fine. I can understand that not everyone would have the patience to sit and do this, but it is worth it. The end result will be worth it, I can promise you that. So I'm just sticking with the two lightest colours here, and again it's just exactly what we've done before. It's nothing nothing new. We'll just get a few more done. So that again is the lilac, Parma Violet, nice dark bit in there. By making this section really dark, you're making the adjacent scale pop out more, so that's quite important for contrast. Now I can go in either direction here, because I could go to this one or this one, but I'm going to go up the way. Now that is right next to the highlight, but it's not actually in the highlighted area, so I am going to leave a highlight and just pop a little bit of the Parma Violet in there. You see, I'm starting to diverge slightly from our original course, so I'm going to come down to this one next. Now the good thing about this is once you have finished, if your highlighted scales don't look quite right and they're one that seems to be out of place, you can fill the highlights in with pencil. So you're better to have too many with highlights that don't quite sit right, and then you can go over them rather than the other way round. Obviously you can add in a highlight, it is possible. It's just easier to do it the other way. Yeah, see, I'm making headway now. Getting there with these scales. Just a tiny bit of that Parma Violet there. Now this one I haven't left a highlight on and we're nearly joined up. So this one here is going to be the last one that I do leave a highlight on. And it's just because the top of it sits slightly further up than this one. And then this one in here, I am going to take that Parma Violet all the way, the lilac, sorry, Parma Violet, all the way over. And then get my Parma Violet in. I wonder how many times I've said Parma Violet already. Oh my, right, okay, so this little section in here now, we know that none of these need a highlight. So following a rough sort of row, if you like, I am going to use the lilac and the Parma Violet and not leave a highlight like I have done with these ones here. So the next ones down from the ones that we've given a highlight, I am going to use the lilac all the way over, and I'm just going to rumble straight through all of them here because we don't need it to take all day. There we go. And then I'm going to take the Parma Violet and I am going to add in the wee shadow areas that we want. Again, all the way along. I'm just really doing this for speed. You can take a bit more time over them if you want. I personally, not that bothered now. Okay, and then take the lilac back over, blend it all together. Like this. And then with these ones we can bring in the dioxazine. So let's just go all the way over. Let's be reckless, oh my goodness. Nice circular motions with the lilac pencil. Fill in what's left. You'll get a real sense of triumph when this is all filled in. It'll be satisfying. So there we go. That's just a quick layer of lilac on top of what was already there. And then we are going to bring the Parma Violet up. Again, just medium pressure, nothing crazy here. And what that, by putting that layer of lilac down, what that'll help do is bring out the richness in the back end of the fish here. And make the lighter of the darker scales, oh my god, the lighter of the darker scales not as dark as the ones at the front. Now I'm going to take my dioxazine and I am going to, now I'm just doing this by eye, scale by scale. Maybe a little bit on this one here and here. Okay, and then I'm going to go back with the Parma Violet and just blend all this in. That's what we want. Taking a lot less care over these now, just for the simple fact that we have gotten to the stage where we've put all our shading and everything in. Alright, so now I'm looking at that and I have got some Parma Violet quite, there we go again, Parma Violet. I've got the dioxazine quite high up in here, so I'm just going to kind of follow that on a little bit, just so we can get it to taper back down as the back end of the fish gets narrower. There we go, that's better. I'm a bit happier with that now. Do you know what? Let's just finish these scales off and then they're done. We're doing really well, aren't we? Yeah, we're not far off finishing, so let's just go for it, will we? We're nearly there. Alright, so 2 lightest colours, and again, I'm just going to have a quick sharpen here because we are considerably blunt. So I've not much left to fill in here, really. It's just 1 or 2 scales, so I'm just going to go straight in with that lilac with a light hand. Leave the highlight. And I'm just going to leave that one at that. Now, again, I'm not following a formula here. I'm just doing this by eye. And I suggest strongly that you do the same. This one's a bit lower down, so I'm going to take my lilac up. And I'm going to use the Parma Violet just in at this corner here, down the bottom. See, this one seems a little bit too pale. So this is really just tweaking. Seeing what looks right for yourself, and you have to learn to do these things yourself. You can't rely on someone to always say, oh, you have to do exactly this. This is how you develop your skills. In the grand scheme of things, if you don't get it quite right, it is not going to be a disaster and it is not going to ruin your picture. So don't be too fearful of it. Just take the plunge and go for it and trust your instincts, because 9 times out of 10 our instincts are usually right. I'm pressing quite heavy on this particular scale because that is supposed to be a darker area. The same in here, but this is with the lilac pencil. Still using the lilac pencil. Just going to add in a wee bit here as well. I'm not pressing very hard. This is like the edge of what originally was my highlighted area. So I don't want to, again, I don't want to encroach too much on that. Just want to give it a tickle. Right, if I zoom out now, you can see how much that has impacted the fish, and that looks pretty good. What I will do towards the end is I will perhaps go back and maybe tweak some of this. It is slightly uneven, but overall I'm quite pleased with the effect. So now we're going to swiftly move on to the tail fin. What I'm going to do with the tail is exactly what I've done with the other fins, but I'm going to reverse the colours. So it's going to start pale and go through to the darker orange along the tips, and that's just to give a little bit of contrast to the ones either side, because this top fin comes down and overlaps. I just want there to be a little bit of variety, as it were. So I'm just going to take my 3 orangey colours, and I'm going to start with this eggshell, and the same as I normally do, I'm just going to go over the whole area with this eggshell and a nice light layer. And I'm going to have to work my way around all the bits and bobs that are floating about in the bottom corner of this picture, but that's okay. I'm just using the side of the pencil, and when I get up towards this lilac, I'm just overlapping with that lilac very, very slightly. Bring this down and round, and this kind of comes off the edge, so I'm just going to be careful. It's really easy when you get to the edge of a picture like this, it is really easy to unintentionally lean heavier because you're at the edge of the paper, so it's just something to be aware of. You may not do it. Maybe it's just me. Work around this little fishy dude here and his kind of tadpole friend. There's quite a lot going on in this bottom corner. It's very interesting. Go work our way around. This little guy here reminds me of the power-up stars from Mario, so I'm probably going to colour him to look a little bit like this. Right, that looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to go to my darkest colour, which is the mineral orange, and I'm just going to start at this bottom edge here, and with quite a heavy hand and using a sort of flicky motion, I'm going to go up with the mineral orange. And bring this all the way up. I'm not pressing really hard, but I am putting a bit of pressure on the pencil. I just want to get a sort of fringe going, but what I'll do is I'll break it up into sections like I did with these ones here. So I'll stop at the edge of the turtle's nose, I think is probably a good place to stop for now. It's just back to that idea of, by working in sections, it just makes things a little less daunting, a little less overwhelming, because I have heard people say on lots of occasions that they do find Kerby's pictures quite intimidating, and we don't want that. So now I'm on to my yellowed orange, and I'm just bringing that down over this mineral orange here, just in this little section here, and pressing quite heavily again there. Look how vibrant that colour is, it's lovely. This is the beauty of Prismacolors, they really, really just pop out. I'm back with the mineral orange, really heavy now. Get that mineral orange in there, get it down. This is what we want. And there, that little section looks quite good. So now back to the yellowed orange. Quite a light hand. And I'm just going to bring this up here, because I have to decide now where I want the eggshell to join on to blend together. So I think about there's probably good. So light hand, and I'm just going to bring that down to join the yellowed orange in that little corner as well. Bring that up there. Nice light strokes. There we go. Now again, just with the same pressure, I'm taking the yellowed orange and I'm going back over my mineral orange. I'm not using a lot of pressure at all. And then I'll just start to blend this in with the eggshell into this section here. And then I'm going to take the mineral orange and just give this one last layer down the bottom and blend it in with the yellowed orange. Quite heavy in that sort of darker area there. There we go. I'm just going to add in a little line of the yellowed orange up there. Lovely. Now move on to this next section here. I'm just going to feather that off a bit because it's quite a harsh line. Work around this little postage stamp. And then take my yellowed orange, and again just a light hand. Start to blend those together. And bring this up to maybe here, I think. In this part here I'm going to press really hard because that is quite a dark area just with the line art. And when I come to the top of that, I'm going to start to ease off. And then I'm taking my eggshell and I'll start at the top here. Again, quite a light hand. Bring it down, join it up with the yellowed orange. Not a problem. Just in for another layer. Try and get in all these wee fiddly bits. I'll bring that down on top of the mineral orange, down to the very tip. And then just as before, take the mineral orange, pressing quite hard now, and letting up on the pressure as I head upwards. Back to my yellowed orange, really start to blend this in now to almost nothing, and then that lets me go back with the eggshell, the medium pressure, bring these two sections together. Good. I'm just going to carry on up the top here, bring this down here. Now we've got this sort of middle section in behind the stamp, so I'm just going to use the yellowed orange there. Keeping light all the time, we want to build it up gradually here. Just blend that in there. And do what I did over here, and I'm just going to sort of, using quite sharp strokes and quite a lot of pressure, I'm just going to sort of flick that down. And then bring the eggshell down round the edges. Go back to my yellowed orange, starting at the bottom here. Just going to go over my mineral orange again. Try and get in some of these little gaps in the stamp. Here we go. And I can join that up there too. I need to sharpen my mineral orange. Get some nice flicky strokes here. I have to say this is a lot harder to do with the Prismacolors than it is with, say, your Polychromos, just because they are so soft. When you start to put a lot of pressure on the pencil, the point doesn't last long and you tend to find yourself doing a lot of sharpening. But that's okay. They're great for blending, so we're not going to complain. A slightly lighter hand when I come up round this top edge now. blend it in with the eggshell from further up. Good stuff. Let's go down here now, light hand to begin with. And there we go, and making sure we're being careful going around all our little fiddly bits. I'll take that yellowed orange and I'll join this little bit up first, and then I'll just move it over. Here's another fiddly bit, goodness me. I'll get my specs on to do this bit. Anybody got a magnifying glass handy? There we go. And then taking my eggshell, start at the top here, and I'll bring this down. Join it up again. Now I'm just going to do this section next door to it just because it kind of stops where this paper is. So that's a nice easy part for us to do. Okay, so yellowed orange now down the bottom here. Just another nice light layer over the top. Let it tail off there. Tail off, get it, get it. Ha ha ha. Oh, I know, I'm hilarious. And then go back in with this mineral orange. Bring that right up there, I think. And again, it's up to you how far up you want to take your mineral orange. Use a bit of creativity. I think I'll have that bit right up there. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then I can come in with my yellowed orange. Just sort of blend that together. Make it nice and smooth. I'm not very happy with this mineral orange down here. That's better. It's starting to look a bit wishy-washy. I don't want that. Now up here with these hatched sections, I think I'm going to just pop in a little bit of the yellowed orange. Maybe just down here, add a bit of interest. And then I'll go back over it with my eggshell. Excuse me. Oh, there we go. Just add a bit of interest there, I think. Okay, now this is like super fiddly in this part. A little bit of sharpen again. I'm not even going to bother blending the colours in this bottom part in here. It is very, very dark, so that's just straight mineral orange. There we go. I haven't been drinking, I promise. Oh dear. Right, so let's just pop this in down here. As I'm coming up this side, I am keeping this quite dark, but once I come up past Mr. Star, then I'm just going to ease up right about there. Yeah, that suits me just fine. And I'll do the same round here as well. And under here, I'm going to make this really dark. Again, just straight mineral orange. And then I'm going to let up the pressure as I move over. And the same in this corner as well. It's kind of in shadow with the fish that's on top of it, so I'll just go for it, that'll be fine. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to take my yellowed orange, And I'm going over the mineral orange here, just on this top section. And bring that up to our piece of paper. Now in under here I'm going to press quite hard, again just to give that a little bit of sort of shadow. Follow Kerby's lines again, and then blend it out a little bit as we get further down. And the same in here as well. A line down there as well. Make that fold stand out a little bit. Why not? Down here, I'm a very light coat of the yellowed orange, just in here. In the areas where I went lighter with the mineral orange. There we go, and I'll go back with that mineral orange now and just another light layer. Build it up. Try and be a little bit careful around here. Good. Now I'm going to pop a tiny bit of the mineral orange here, just a little bit, and then I can grab my yellowed orange and just work from there and pull it up the way. And then I can take my eggshell and I can start up here. Again, just join this up. That's all we're doing, we're just joining it up. Same up here. Bring this quite far down, I think. I'll take my yellowed orange. I'm having to sharpen really frequently here. I might even get through this ancient yellowed orange by the time we finish this picture. I have had it forever. I really have. It's I think it's probably the last remaining old Prismacolor I have. I can't even tell you when I bought them. I wouldn't actually know. Trying to think back, but I really can't think. I've had it a long time anyway. I say I think it's the only one. I did have a spring green, but it's long gone. They were the two that outlasted the rest of them. I've just been replacing them, you know, gradually as I've worn the old ones down. The new ones, you know, when I went to order them, the new ones had come in, so they've just been kind of gradually phased out. Yeah, I just want to work on some of these little guys down here. I am just going to fill in the rest of the tail fin off camera. You've got the general idea now, and it's very similar to what we did here, so let's move on to something else. Now the first thing that I'm going to tackle is my little yellow star guy, because it reminds me of the Nintendo power-ups. So the first thing I need to do is fill his eyes in. That is very important to me. And leave him a wee highlight. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some yellows. So I think I'm going to go with the canary yellow, and I'm going to use a little bit of sunburst yellow as well. So I'm just going to give little guy a coat of the canary. And then using the sunburst, I'm just going to give him a wee bit of definition. I don't want to use too much of this because it is quite similar to the shades of orange that we're using behind it. But just by putting a few lines in like that, and then I can go back over with this canary yellow, which is, you know, it's quite a vibrant colour, and just kind of blend that in a little bit. It's just going to add a wee bit more interest to this little guy. He is quite cute. Look at him with his little eyes. Bless him. There we go, that's kind of cute, isn't it? Now for this piece of paper, I want it to look kind of weathered. So I am going to take some ginger root, which is, oh, the light's shining on that, that's not very helpful. PC 1084. And I'm also going to take the artichoke, which is PC 1098. Now these colours they're kind of in an odd place when it comes to them actually sitting in the set, but they have been put side by side and there's good reason for that, and it's because they blend well together. So I'm going to take, first of all, I'm going to take my eggshell and I'm just going to whack down a quick layer of that. I've not taken much care over that because it is a piece of paper in the ocean, so you know, it's going to look a bit kind of battered and whatnot. So using the ginger root, where this fold is, I'm just going to run a line of that up there, like so. And I am going to do the same underneath here as well. Fill that little section in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the artichoke and use that as a sort of shadow colour. Really darken that down in there and flick a bit out here. And then what I'm going to do is go back to the ginger root and just very lightly go over the top of this, around the outsides. So there we go, it's still paper coloured, but it is a slightly different colour from what is behind it. We don't want that blending in too much. I might even run this artichoke round the top edge. Yeah, let's do that. And round the bottom edge. Just sort of blend it up and into the main part of the paper. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm quite happy with that. Now with this stamp, I think we'll leave the border white so that it stands out and use completely different colours here. So let's go with something exciting. Let's go with Peacock Blue. Oh yeah, that looks good. And on this background here. I think this is a lovely colour. I don't use it often enough, but I just think it's such a pretty colour. Yeah, that's going to look good. So there is the Peacock Blue, and I'm going to take the Indigo Blue, and where these lines are running down through it, I'm going to put a dark line of it along the top. And then I'm just going to bring it down where Kerby has drawn the lines on the actual stamp. And then I'm going to use my Peacock Blue again and just go back over, make it nice and rich and blend it in with that indigo. I don't know what sort of creature is supposed to be on the front of this stamp. It could be anything. It's just kind of a blob, really, isn't it? I think maybe we should make that yellow too, and then it kind of ties in with our little star here. So I'm taking my canary yellow again, which is PC 916. And there we go, and that stands out quite nicely against that dark blue as well. We don't really have to do a lot with this, but I like paying attention to these little details. And I'm going to use my Sunburst Yellow, and I'm just, that's difficult for you to see, but I'm just going to run a line of it down one side of whatever creature it is in the stamp. There we go. So down the bottom here we have got this little guy. Now I've got a thing about these, I just call them Kerby creatures. They kind of look like space hoppers. I don't know if any of you had them as kids, where they were just like a big inflatable ball with eyes, and it had these kind of ear things like this that you held onto and you sat on them and you bounced along, and they were great until you landed on some stones and burst them. Anyway, that is beside the point. I have a thing about these, and I always colour them in neon colours because I never use my neon pen pencils, so I find that they are a good excuse to use them because they're not anything in particular. So I'm going to go with neon pink. If you want to go with the neon trend, feel free to pick another neon colour, that is fine by me. And thinking of it as an inflatable, which just sounds ridiculous, I'm going to make it quite shiny as well. So I'm going to leave highlights on his ears like this. Those little kind of like half circles. And I'm going to leave a stripe along the top of like his forehead as well. So down the bottom here, I don't need to be worrying too much about anything like that. But when I come up round his eyes, I'm almost giving him like a monobrow that's a highlight. Monobrow, poor thing. There we go. And again, I'm not going to get too hung up on this because it is quite a small area. It's right in the bottom corner of the page. I don't want him to feel left out though and feel like a second-class citizen. But, you know, don't sort of lose any sleep over this. There's no need. I always love God, I can't talk today. I always love as well the way that the neon pencils stand out in the camera. When I'm looking at my my guidance monitor over here, it's awesome how much it stands out. I never have a use for them in most of my pencil work and my colouring, and they're just not pencils I use. So it's nice to have a wee opportunity to put them to use. Just even if it is just for the little Kerby creatures, that's fine. There we go. Doesn't he look like a jolly little chap? Oh wow. Okay, so this looks like one of these sort of wispy seafoam efforts. Now if you remember before, that was our sky blue light pencil and our muted turquoise. So I'm just going to run a light layer of the sky blue over the top of this, and I'm doing it exactly the same way as I've done the other ones, and again it's just for cohesiveness. So taking the muted turquoise in little circular motions, I'm just picking spots to darken down, and it's completely at random. I'm not really, you know, there's no rhyme or reason to it, it's just give it a bit of interest really. So do that, and then another coat, very light coat of the sky blue light. Sort of blend that in a little bit. Now the sky blue light, although you can't see much of it, it is important because when we come to do that background in the pastel, it is going to stand out. You are going to see that the paper is not white. So it's important that you do use that sky blue light at this stage. I'm just darkening down the very edges of the turquoisey parts again. Just sort of blend it in a little bit. But this part here. And one last go over with the sky blue light. Like so. Really pull out that turquoisey colour. Alright, awesome. So let's see what else we've got. We've got Mr. Turtle here, and I think we haven't really had much in the way of green yet. But I'm aware that there's sort of foliage next to him. So I'm going to make these a really bright green, and I will use more traditional turtle colours, I think, for Mr. Turtle. Let's see what we've got. Let's try some lime peel for his skin first. Yep, that's looking good to me. And again, I'm going to do what I've done with some of the other creatures. I'm going to fill his eyes in. I think they look less soulless with black eyes than they do with just white circles. I always think they look kind of empty and sad if they just have, you know, like the little white rings. So I'm going to do his flippers using this lime peel as well. So this is just a first coat or layer. I like to say coat because I think of it, it's kind of like coats of paint. And paint also being obviously an artistic medium, that kind of sits well with me. Okay, and I'm going to get a slightly darker green in the same sort of idea, which is the green ochre. Yes, I said ochre. And that is PC 1091. And I'm just going to use that to tickle in some definition, some little shadowy areas on him, make him a bit more interesting. The top of his fins here. There we go. And go back over that with the lime peel and just see what happens. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. There we go. I'm just leaving a little white edge here, just for a wee highlight. And give him some of this in his neck. And a wee bit down his snout. Is that the correct terminology for a sea turtle? I don't know. Considering I have a degree in animal stuff, you think I'd know stuff like that, but I didn't really study sea turtles. More farm animals. Not very exciting, I know, but still. There we are. And the area around each side of his eye, I'm not going to touch with the lime peel this time. Again, we'll treat that as kind of like maybe a highlight. And I'm just going to go back over this again because that's not dark enough for my liking. Looking good. Get this little back leg of his. We'll just fill that last bit in with just the lime peel, that'll be fine. Okay, so looking at his shell now, I think I'm going to stick with the green ochre, and I'm just going to pop a layer of that down round here. I'm going to make this dome part slightly lighter. So I'll just do this section round the outside just now. There we go. And I'm going to take sepia, which is PC948. And I'm just going to add in some bits of this round here. Now there's no particular pattern to this for me, I've just picked an edge and I'm going for it. And it's just to give a wee bit of a 3D feel to the sections on his shell, bless him. So this is the green ochre again, and I'm just going to go around these plates. I do know that they're called plates, that's their proper name. Well done, Jem. I'll fill all these in. There we go, that's pretty awesome. Now with the green ochre, I'm going to do a light layer in this centre part. And I'm going to go in my half moon shape that you should be used to seeing me use by now. I use it often. There we are, we'll do that. And I am going to take, I think it is marine green. My writing's kind of like rubbed off now, but that is PC988. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow that edge where I've already put the green ochre in, and I'm just going to gradually build up this marine green. There we go. Make it a little bit darker around the outside again. And then I'm going to go back in with the green ochre. There we go. Oh, he's looking like a handsome little fella. Look at him. How cute is you? Oh no. We have a breakage. We've done not bad. That is the first time I've had a broken core using these pencils in this picture. I would say that's reasonably good going. Anyway, not that I'm going to use it again, as I said. I'm going to just take the lime peel and give a wee tickle in the plates of his shell. And there we go. He's looking handsome. Right, let's move on to this little plant here. And then I think we will call it quits after that. So I'm going to go nice and bright. I'm going to go Chartreuse. Now you're going to laugh at this one. Oh. I definitely have a spare one of these. It's a colour that I use a lot. So I'm going to go Chartreuse Apple Green, which is PC912. I don't know what number Chartreuse is because the number's not there anymore. And I am going to go to whatever this colour is as well. You can tell I use green a lot. Let's just have a look. Okay, so Chartreuse is PC989. The apple green, what we've got already, which is PC912, and PC909 is grass green. There you go. I got there eventually. So with these, I think what we'll do is let's tackle the shadowy areas first with the darkest green. So I'm going to go in there with the grass green. There we go, and take a little bit of the apple green and just pull the grass green up and blend it out a little bit and give us quite an interesting set of colours. It goes in like an almost turquoisey shade, and I quite like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pop down some of this apple green on each of these sections, feathering it out, and then what I'll do is I will take the lighter shade and just blend it in with that. Now down the centre stalk here, I'm going to take the artichoke, which is the colour that we used for the piece of paper, and I'm just going to pop that in as a stock colour. Okay, now I'm taking my apple green and I'm starting deliberately on top of the grass green, and it's to pull the colour out. There you go, and that gives you a really interesting mix of greens. This is one of my favourite simple combinations, and I do use it a lot. Particularly, most of you know the colouring book that I'm working in just for myself is Enchanted Forest by Johanna Basford, and I'm working in it front to back. And obviously that book has a lot of leaves in it, generally speaking, and I do use this combination a lot, hence the reason why the pencils are so blinking short. They're just well used. Okay, so with these sections here, again, this is one of these ones where they could be anything really. They may not necessarily be any sort of plant life, but I'm going to take it that they're plant life. So I'm going to take the Chartreuse. I'm going to have to get a pencil extender. And I'm going to go over the whole thing with the Chartreuse. A reasonably light layer. There we go. And then I'm just going to use the apple green just to sort of put a little bit of definition in there. I'm going to sharpen this right up because it is, again, quite a tight area to be working in. There we go. So I'm just going to run a line, a very thin line down here, all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to do the same here on this one. But I'm going to pop a wee bit of shadow in there as well because it's tucked in behind our sea foam. So let's just go with this all the way around. Now I'm going to go back over with the Chartreuse, but when I do, I'm going to leave that as quite a defined line. I'm not going to blend it, and it's just to add a bit of texture. It is nice seeing pictures where everything is absolutely and spectacularly blended. However, sometimes it's nice just to have that bit of variation. It gives the eye something else to look at. Right there. And with this one, I'm going to start it maybe about there, I think. Just bring it down, join it up with that other part. Okay, so back to the Chartreuse. I'm pressing quite firmly now. Wee circular motions. Bring it up to the edge. I'll say I'm not wanting to blend it in. I'm wanting that line to stay there. So I'm trying to avoid that other green that I've put down. Oh, there's a fiddly bit in there. I'll just add this in here. Alright guys, there we go, that looks awesome. So let's zoom out now. I'll get all these pencils out of the way, they're everywhere. That was quite a lot of pencils today. I'll zoom out and we can have a look at the full picture. That looks pretty good to me. It's starting to come along a little bit now. As time goes on, I have decided that I will do a bit of speed colouring, but I will do a voiceover over the top for you, just in case there's any variation or changes. But as I say, for this side, the next time that you see this picture, I will have filled in the rest of the tail fin, so feel free to go and do that in your own time, and when we come back we can do this little bit round here and start working up here. When it comes to the fish on this side, I will probably speed colour most of that because I'll be using the same technique. Okie dokie guys, well thank you very much for joining me once again. I always have great fun doing these, particularly when we're working in Kerby's books. He's my favourite. So thanks for following along, and we shall see you for the next instalment in the Colour Cave. Bye bye guys.